Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a fascinating exploration into the world of communication, specifically how we actually teach effective language skills.
That's right.
Our source for this is Chapter 9, Teaching Verbal Operants, from the Verbal Behavior Approach.
A really foundational text.
Absolutely. So, our mission today is to distill the core strategies, the key insights, and really show you how different types of verbal responses are built up, systematically, like building a communication pyramid piece by piece.
And it's important right from the start to remember the big picture here. The ultimate goal of this whole approach is fostering robust, functional communication and doing it as quickly as possible.
Right.
Whether that's vocal speech, sign language, maybe another system entirely.
Yeah.
Speed and getting that communication working for the child is key. We want to open those language floodgates.
That definitely sets a clear vision. So, okay, let's unpack this. Where do we even begin this systematic journey? What's the absolute first thing we need to grasp to start teaching these verbal operants?
Well, the very first hurdles are critical. First, you've got to ensure the child is well paired with the instructors.
Paired. Okay.
Meaning they've built a positive relationship. The child sees the instructors as, bringers of good things, fun things. It's about trust and positive association.
Got it.
And right alongside that, the child absolutely must be able to mand for several items they can actually see.
Mand. Okay, define that simply for us.
A mand is just a request. It's asking for something the child really wants right then, a specific toy, a snack, maybe access to an activity. That desire, that motivation is the engine.
Okay, and here's something I found really interesting. The sources seem to push hard for focusing on verbal operant speaking, signing, even if nonverbal stuff seems easier at first. Why is that? It feels a bit counterintuitive.
It does, but it's a crucial distinction. Look, nonverbal operants, things like matching pictures, following instructions without speaking, they're common in, say, standard ABA or DTT programs.
Right.
And they are easier to prompt. You can physically guide a hand to match a picture. So you get success, reinforcement, especially maybe for kids who aren't vocal yet. They definitely have a role, but the core idea here is getting functional communication happening fast, connecting the child to their world through language. So the focus shifts squarely onto verbal operants,
Which are?
things like tacting labeling, echoics, imitating sounds or words, and intraverbals, answering questions, conversation. These are harder to teach initially, no doubt, but the long-term payoff is huge, because that's real communication. So in intensive teaching, the target is actually like at least 50% of your trials should involve a verbal response, whether spoken or signed. It's a steeper climb maybe, but the view, communication-wise, is much better.
Okay, so if those verbal operants are the goal, why is manding hammered home as the absolute first step? You said it's make or break.
It genuinely is. The chapter is very clear. A child has to be able to mand for several items without needing you to say the word first or prompt them before you move on, skipping it. They literally call it a recipe for disaster.
Wow. Okay, why disaster?
Because so many of the first tacts, the first echoics, the first intraverbals, they're taught within the mand frame.
The man frame. Explain that.
Think of it like this. You use the child's existing motivation, that strong desire for something they already know how to ask for, as the context to teach a new related word or skill. If a child can't even say or sign cookie when they're desperate for a cookie.
Then they're definitely not going to just label a picture of one or echo the word cookie when they're not motivated.
Exactly. Manding taps into that powerful built-in motivation. It fuels the whole process.
Okay, manding is solid. Check.
Huh?
Where do we build next on our pyramid? The chapter points right to tacting. What is a tact?
A tact is basically a label, naming something you perceive through your senses, what you see, hear, smell, taste, touch.
So like seeing a cat and saying cat.
Precisely. The antecedent, what triggers it, is the thing itself. The cat, a picture of a cat, the sound meow, maybe the smell of cookies baking.
And the consequence. What happens after?
Typically, it's indirect reinforcement. Praise, acknowledgement. That's right, it is a cat. You don't usually get the cat just for labeling it. It's about commenting on the world.
Now, the source mentioned pure tacts versus how they often get taught. This made me think, practically, how does this work? Most kids, especially early on, aren't just spontaneously pointing out, look, a bird, right?
You're absolutely right. Those spontaneous comments, pure tacts, are often actually mands for attention. Look at what I see. And for many children with autism, those are, well, they're often deficient, hard to get going.
So waiting for those isn't practical.
Not for teaching, no. It's unrealistic to expect to teach hundreds of labels without the instructor, prompting the response somehow. Often that means asking a question like, what is it? Or what do you see? Because kids with autism often need hundreds of teaching trials for each item to really master it. It's not like a typically developing child who might hear banana once and get it. So practically speaking, the antecedent for a tact in teaching usually includes the item and a question from the instructor.
And that's okay. It's not messing things up.
It's fine. Don't get hung up on the purity. Most of our language is multiply controlled anyway.
Yeah.
More than one thing influences what we say. The goal is clear. Functional communication. Asking, what is it, helps achieve that.
Okay, getting practical then. If tacting is so foundational, how do we start teaching it effectively? And maybe more importantly, are there common traps to avoid, especially as kids move beyond just simple nouns?
Good question. You definitely want to start with things you see, objects, pictures. Then maybe move to sounds like animal noises or vehicle sounds. Things like smells, tastes, textures, those come much later.
And the traps.
The big one. Do not rush into advanced tacting too early. I'm talking colors, features, adjectives, prepositions, things like big, red, on, under.
Why not, if a child seems ready?
Because teaching them too soon can cause real confusion. It leads to problems with what's called conditional discrimination.
Conditional discrimination,
Meaning the child struggles to respond differently based on the specific question you ask. So if you teach yellow chair too early, they might start calling all chairs yellow chair.
Ah, I see. They fuse the concept.
Exactly. Or they call every fire engine red fire engine, even when you just ask, what is it? They can't separate the object from the feature. It's much better to build a really solid base. First, maybe 100 or more simple, single-word tacts, nouns mostly.
Like the pyramid base.
Precisely. Build a solid first floor before adding the second. So hold up a chair, ask, what is it? The answer is chair. Hold up the same chair, ask, what color? The answer is yellow. If the child says yellow chair to either question, that's a problem. Hold off combining concepts until that single-word base is rock solid.
That pyramid image really helps, but I can hear someone thinking, my child can say yellow car, why hold them back? Is there actual harm in pushing ahead?
Yes, potentially. Pushing too fast often leads to what the book calls odd language groupings. Phrases the child says, but without real flexible understanding.
Rote phases.
Kind of. Language that sounds okay but doesn't generalize well or breaks down under different questions. We want truly functional, flexible language, not just memorized chunks. So building that strong, clear foundation first, then adding complexity, it's actually the faster, more efficient route in the long run.
Okay, so assuming we have that solid base of simple tacts, what are some good ways to actually transfer skills to tacting, maybe using skills the child already has?
Yeah, there are effective transfer procedures. One big one is the man to tact transfer, since the child can already man for things they like.
Like candy.
Right. So after they successfully man for the real candy, you might then show them a picture of candy and ask, what is it? Initially, they might try to man again, seeing the picture.
Candy, want candy.
Exactly. But you gently redirect, that's right, it's a picture of candy, what is it? You prompt the tact. Using pictures here is practical. Too easier to manage 100 pictures than 100 items in a session. But, crucial point, you still need to use real items sometimes for generalization.
Makes sense. Any other transfers?
Another useful one is receptive to tact transfer. This uses their understanding of words. So you might put out a few pictures and say, touch oven. The child touches the oven picture. Then you immediately pick that picture up and ask, what is it?
Ah, leveraging the receptive skill to prompt the expressive one.
Precisely.
Okay, let's talk assessment and errors. How do we check what a child actually knows how to tact without accidentally helping them? And what do we do when they make a mistake?
We use something called cold probes. These are quick checks. You show an item or picture, ask, what is it? And see if they respond correctly within, say, 3 seconds without any prompts.
Cold meaning no warm-up, no prior hints.
Exactly. And if the child doesn't have any tacts yet, you might start by probing words they already use as mands. But the absolute rule is always probe the tact first.
Yeah.
Never, ever ask them to, touch cookie, and then immediately ask, what is it, about the cookie picture.
Because you just gave them the word.
You basically prompted it. Now, if they make an error during the probe, say, the example in the book is Ryan, you show a picture of a swing, ask, what's this? And he signs, jump. That's an error.
So what happens then?
Immediate correction. The instructor would gently guide Ryan's hand to make the sign for swing while saying swing. Then immediately present the picture again. What's this? If Ryan then signs swing, great, reinforce him. But on your data sheet, it's still marked as incorrect for that initial probe because a correction was needed.
So you teach right in the moment of the error, even during assessment.
Absolutely. You correct it right then and there to prevent that error from sticking.
Okay, so we have manding as the foundation, tacting as the next layer. The children are labeling their world. Let's move up the pyramid to echoic skills, the power of imitation. What's an echoic and why is it so vital?
An echoic is simply imitating what someone else says. You say ball, the child says ball. The really crucial thing is the antecedent, what comes before. For a pure echoic, it should only be a verbal stimulus.
Meaning no object present.
Right. No ball, no picture of a ball, just you saying say ball. Its importance, huge. The ability to echo can, as the book says, open up the floodgates of language. It's a bridge. It lets us directly teach new sounds, new words, and transfer skills across the other operants.
How should we approach teaching echoics? Is it just drill work?
Well, that's a key warning. Avoid strict, isolated echoic drills without reinforcement. Just sit there saying, say ball, say car, say cup. That can lead to problem behaviors, what they call work aversion. Kids hate it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Instead, the recommendation is to use those transfer procedures again and often start teaching echoics within the man frame we talked about. Because it often happens naturally when kids are really motivated.
Give me an example.
Okay, the Abby example. Abby, man's bubble. Instructor blows bubble. That's the reinforcement. Then the instructor briefly hides the bubble container and says, bubble, so bubble. Tapping into that recent motivation. If Abby echoes, great, more bubbles. If not, maybe flash the container again, model bubble again, prompting the echo.
Using the motivation from the man.
Exactly. There's another transfer using flashcards of things that aren't reinforcers. You might start with the picture present, show a picture of a shoe, say shoe, say shoe. Once they can echo that, you turn the card over so the picture's hidden and try again. Say shoe, fading the visual cue.
Gotcha. And for kids developing vocal speech, can echoic work help with articulation, making sounds clearer?
Definitely. There are specific techniques. Positioning the child so they're looking right at your face helps them see your mouth movements. You can also slow down words or even chunk the sounds, break banana into banana. Exaggerating your own facial movements when you say the word can also give them clearer visual cues to imitate. It's about making the production really clear and observable.
Right. Makes sense. Okay, this brings us to the top level. Feels like the peak of the pyramid, the intraverbal. That sounds like where real conversation lives.
You got it. The intraverbal is absolutely key for conversation. It's the ability to respond to what someone else says with different words, answering a question, commenting, adding to the topic.
So unlike an echoic, where you repeat.
Exactly. The antecedent is still only verbal someone else's speech, but your response is related, not identical. It requires you to think and formulate a connected but distinct response.
And this is complex.
Oh, hugely complex. Think about a simple chat, like the Anne and Jamie example in the book. It's a mix of tacts, it's nice out, mands for information, where did you move from, and intraverbals. I recently moved here from New Jersey. Real conversation weaves these all together. And it's worth noting, things like asking WH questions yourself, that's an advanced manding skill that usually needs specific teaching much later.
So, wow, how do we even start teaching something this complex? After focusing on single words or imitation, this seems like a huge leap.
It does seem daunting, but the starting point is often surprisingly simple. Fill-ins. Especially during fun, familiar routines like songs or nursery rhymes.
Like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
Exactly.
Wow.
Or Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I, and the child shouts, oh! It seems simple, but it's the beginning of responding to a verbal cue with a different verbal response. And it's functional. You can use it all day.
How do you teach those fill-ins?
Okay, for vocal fill-ins, you pick a word you know the child can already say, maybe from your tact list. You sing the song, nice and slow, lots of animation, then you pause. Leave that last word silent. The wheel's on the pump. Pause for just a second or two.
And if they don't respond?
You sing the word, maybe overemphasizing it slightly. B-U-S. The Nathan example in the book shows this. He might echo bus, then try again, pause. Maybe this time he says bus himself. You'd only target maybe 2 or 3 words per song to start.
Okay.
Once they get single words, you can use backward chaining for phrases teach star, then little star, then twinkle little star. And if fill-ins are proving tricky, you can use that tact to intraverbal transfer. Hold up the star picture, what's this? Child says star. Then sing twinkle, twinkle, little, while showing the picture to prompt, star. Gradually fade the picture away over time.
That makes sense, using the known tact as a prompt. So fill-ins are the entry point. How do we get from singing songs to actual back-and-forth conversation, answering real questions?
Right, fill-ins are just step one. The next step usually involves using the child's mastered tacts to teach responses related to features, functions, or categories. So things like, you sleep in a bed, or a cow says moo, or you eat food cookie apple. Start with nouns that you can easily prompt with a picture if needed.
Okay.
And here's a critical progression. Typically, kids need to master these fill-in types. You sleep in a bed before they can reliably answer the corresponding WH question, where do you sleep? So you teach the fill-in, often using picture prompts initially, then fade the prompts, and then work on transferring that skill to the WH question format. The Colin example shows this transition from fill-in bed to answering the question, where do you sleep with bed?
That sequencing seems really important.
It is. And there are significant challenges here for professionals. One absolutely vital point. You must only work on intraverbals where the answer is a word the child can already tact fluently.
Why is that so critical?
Because if you ask, say, something with wings is a D, and the child doesn't have a fluent tact for airplane or maybe even for wings, they can't answer. It leads to confusion, guessing, or just silence. The book gives that Stark Lucas example.
The airplane wings one.
Yeah. He learned to say airplane to what has wings, but months later couldn't actually point to or label the wings on a plane. He'd memorize a phrase without understanding the components. Same with the bristles example. Kids couldn't answer something with bristles is a D with broom because they didn't know what bristles were.
So teaching rote answers without the underlying tacts is pointless.
Worse than pointless, it can create fragmented, non-functional language. Another key thing, keep practicing the tacts while you work on intraverbals. Sometimes kids start overgeneralizing the intraverbal prompt. They hear meow, meow, says so often that they start calling pictures of cats meow instead of cat.
Oh, so the intraverbal practice actually weakens the tact.
It can happen. If you see that the child calling pizza, eat pizza, or cat meow, you need to pause those specific intraverbal targets and go back to strengthen the basic tacts until they're solid again.
Wow. Lots to juggle. Okay, last stage. The really high-level stuff. Kids who are getting ready for complex questions like, what did you do last weekend? Or tell me about school today. This is the summit, right? How do we support that?
It really is the summit. The few key strategies here. First, if you're asking about something specific, like school, know the answer yourself. Coordinate with the teacher. That way you can give subtle hints if needed.
Okay.
Second, once basic interverbals are good, favorite DVDs or books are great tools. Pause the movie, close the book, ask WH questions. Where's Woody hiding? What's Buzz doing?
Right.
And a really powerful tip, this one from Dr. Carbone's clinic.
Yeah.
Try to hold back on direct prompting. Encourage problem solving. So if Woody's under the bed and the child says, I don't know, where's Woody? Don't just say under the bed, right? Instead, maybe point to the bed. Ask, what's this? Child says bed. Then you prompt again, right, so where is Woody? Maybe gesturing towards under the bed. You guide them to construct the answer rather than just giving it to them.
That encourages more flexible thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the prerequisites here are high. The child needs to be really fluent with prepositions, understand all the items, actions, characters involved before you attempt this level without any visual support.
What an incredible journey, truly. From that very first simple request, the mand, all the way up to these complex conversational skills. We've really seen how teaching communication isn't random. It's this systematic building process.
Yeah.
Manding as that non-negotiable base, then carefully adding tacting, echoics, and finally intraverbals layer by layer. That pyramid analogy really holds up.
It really does. And it highlights that this approach, it's not magic. It's structured, it's planned. It requires careful attention to avoid those pitfalls, like rote learning, and to ensure the communication being taught is truly understood and functional.
Patience and precision seem key.
Definitely. But the potential outcome, truly functional communication, is transformative.
So thinking about all this, what does it mean for you, our listener? As you apply this knowledge, maybe reflect on building communication skills, whether you're directly involved in teaching or just interacting with learners.
Well, here's a thought to take away. Given that teaching these verbal operants effectively requires such systematic instruction, such meticulous planning to make sure we're building real understanding and not just empty phrases, how might we rethink our everyday interactions, even outside formal teaching, to naturally reinforce these skills? How can we make those daily moments richer opportunities for building communication that's genuinely functional and meaningful for the learner?